I see there are people who have been with us for some time and people who I really probably have never seen before in my life, which is, and probably some of those that I haven't seen before, I have spoken with before. This is our 10th retreat. In the 10 years we have been in this work, we've done 10 of these retreats. And they are, my relationship with them as they approach is reluctance. Oh my God, is it that time again? How did it get to be the day before the retreat so quickly? Where was I? What was I paying attention to that it snuck up on me like this? Oh, this is going to be terrible. And then I come here and it's like walking into another world, another universe. And I stay with you for these 4 or 5 days and come out the other end refreshed and unbelievably grateful that I have in this life had this come to me. So welcome. I'm happy to have you here. I'm happy to be here with you. That's the easy part. In the 10 years that I've been doing this work, I have learned a lot. See, I don't hold with the idea that there's some lightning bolt that strikes a person and they are forever transformed and transcended and filled with truth and clarity and can transmit or communicate that to anybody that comes in contact with them by a glance or a touch of the hand or just I don't hold with the idea that that's the case with me. What do I know about all the rest? But in the 10 years that we have been in this work, it has, and I talk a lot about the fact that what I propose and what I suggest to people to do, I actually have something that I suggest that you do. And that what I suggest that you do is so simple and so absolutely takes nothing whatsoever. It doesn't require that you believe anything or stop believing anything, that you understand anything or stop understanding anything. It doesn't require anything at all of you but that you do it. But since what it consists in is nothing, absolutely nothing more than the briefest and most fleeting glance at your own nature. It has seemed to me, and often is proven to me, to be obvious that this is something that no one can have any objection to it. No one can fail to do it. No one can fail to hear what it is I'm asking and to actually implement it, to actually accomplish it. I ask you to look at yourself. What can be complicated or difficult about that? You are here, always. When it first occurred to me in the midst of the storm of misery and self-hatred and craziness that afflicted me 15 years ago, I was stunned. I said, oh, right, this is easy. Now I see, it really is easy. And as I began to speak about it, and as I began to get a little better about speaking about it, because I wasn't always very clear, not that I am now, but I was even less clear in the beginning. I was even less free of the need to make reference to spiritual ideas and spiritual understandings and conventional wisdom about what's right and what's wrong, what's needed and what's not needed. But I've discovered in these years that although it certainly is true that nothing whatsoever can stand in the way of your looking at yourself, no false understanding, no true understanding, no anything can get in your way. If you are determined to do this, nothing can stop you. I have seen that that the category of attachment that goes by the name of spiritual understanding has a special place and a special burden that it imposes upon those of us who have embraced it, who took it in. And I would like to be able to say to everybody, look, it's fine. All that is fine. All the understanding of non-duality, all the understanding of the nature of reality and infinite consciousness and love and the oneness of being, all that's fine, really. There's nothing wrong with it. Can't hurt you. Can't help you. But just for this moment, disregard it. It has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with your actual nature. It is a description of you. And there are infinite descriptions of you, all of which fall short, few of which are as entrancing and enchanting as is the realm of advanced and ethereal, mystical, spiritual understanding. And it turns out that that's not the case. That's not that easy. That it seems almost impossible for people to hear what I say in a context that has nothing whatsoever to do with what we know to be the case about the nature of reality, about spiritual reality, about what's needed and what's needed to be gotten rid of. And over the years, this has become clearer and clearer to me. And as it's become clearer and clearer to me, I have tried, I know that's spiritually incorrect to say that, but I have tried to become clearer and clearer myself in speaking more directly and without reference to these tropes and metaphors and similes and understandings that I see to be an affliction. Now I speak about them very little at all. Now I don't have anything against spiritual teachings. We had a afternoon group in Westlake Village a couple of weeks ago. Was anybody at that? We had an afternoon group, yes, I know. A couple of weeks ago at Westlake Village, and I spoke pretty bluntly, I think, about what I see to be the case and the proper context of spiritual understanding and the proper relationship of human aspiration to that particular solution, proposed solution to the problem. And I'm going to say a little bit about that too, someone wrote to me a week later who was there and said, yes, I see what you're saying, and yes, it's very clear to me, but what I have trouble with is when you try to separate yourself from the teachings, from the Buddha, because to me it's the same. And so I have trouble when you try to separate yourself from these things. Well, the truth is that I'm not trying to separate myself from anything. What I seek to do is to bring human perspective of the human adventure so that it holds the whole realm of spiritual aspiration, spiritual understanding, spiritual attainment, spiritual whatever, in its proper perspective, in a historical perspective, in a sense of in what circumstances, what human circumstances they arose, in the sense of how they flourished for a time, in the sense of how they all eventually settle into religion, and in the sense of their actual usefulness to us, their actual effect on us. It has seemed to me that we who are in the spiritual arena, because it's so easy to fall in love with these teachings. I mean, how could you not fall in love with these teachings? It seems to me that we in the spiritual arena, without intending to do so, have fallen into the view that humanity and human aspiration has arisen within the teachings, rather than the case, which is that the teachings have arisen within the overall urge of humankind to find freedom and happiness and satisfaction in their lives. That the spiritual teachings are a product of our aspiration. We are not a product of them. And they're not always right. It's not the case that because someone is free of fear and free of misery and suffering, that they necessarily know what has happened to them. They certainly can authentically and beautifully, gorgeously describe what it feels like to be natural, to be fearless, to be unburdened, to be unafflicted. And they have done so with great art and skill and brilliance. And we have taken those descriptions to be instructions as to what we have to make of ourselves in order that we can be free and content and finished with suffering. So that we strive to become unresistant. We strive to become unattached. We strive to become empty of thought. We strive to become unhuman, actually. Thinking that that's the solution. In Westlake, I pointed out the fact that for thousands and thousands of years, I'm speaking about human history, for thousands and thousands of years, great sages, the like of Aristotle and Plato and Archimedes and Socrates and everybody you can think of who understood things, who understood the world, who understood science, who understood what the heavens were about. For thousands and thousands of years, it was their point of view that the earth was the center of the universe. It was unquestioned. It was accepted by all. Everything that was, all of the work that was done in astronomy and geography and navigation and all of those things started from the premise that the earth is the center of the universe, that the earth does not move. And even starting with a premise that was so patently flawed, they managed to do magnificent work, really amazing work, on understanding the movements of the lights in the sky and being able even to predict such things as eclipses. And it's just amazing. Standing on a premise that was absolutely fundamentally wrong. It wasn't until the 17th century, the time of Galileo, Tycho Brahe and those guys, that it finally dawned on us that, oh, right, we're not the center of the universe. The earth is not the center of the universe. It is more complicated than that. It is more nuanced. It is more intricate. It is more beautiful even than that. I see the sages of spiritual aspiration in a similar light. These people, and we have been, like those early astronomers, we have been doing this for thousands and thousands of years. The actual active investigation into these matters pretty much stopped around 2,000 years ago, and everything settled into religion until a more recent and modern resurgence of interest in the ancient teachings. But for thousands of years, we have operated on the premise that there is something wrong with us, that we are unsuited, we are to this, not enough that, that it is these lives and these personas and this parade of phenomena, it is there that the problem can be found. And then what has to happen, obviously, I mean, everybody who has ever stumbled upon the truth has seen it to be the case. What obviously has to happen is that we have to find ways to become as we are supposed to be. Free of desire, free of attachment, free of resistance to resistance. Quiet. Thought-free. And that if we can just find the practices and the transmissions and the Shaktipat and so forth that will produce that state that is so vividly and gorgeously described in all of the scriptures and all of the teachings, that will be it. Then we'll be there. And maybe, there's two lines of thought in this. One line of thought says that such a state can be induced in an instant by, the touch of the master, or the whack of the Zen stick, or the insight that dawns, or the death of ego, or some such thing. Instantaneous. And the other school holds that no, that's not the case. It has to be worked at long and hard. There has to be a long path of preparations and stages of the path, and hundreds of thousands of prostrations and things like that. It takes time. But if we persist and we are patient and we are devoted, we will surely find our way to the far shore, either in a flash or in a slow crawl. Sooner or later, we'll be able to fix ourselves. Sooner or later, we'll get this right. We will have the right relationship with this parade of phenomena. We will have the right relationship with thought and desire and aversion. We will have the right relationship with ourselves. We'll have the right relationship with the world. And if we're really lucky, the whole idea and sense of being a separate individual will depart from us. And we'll be empty as a stone. All of this predicated on descriptions of the way that it felt to be in the natural human state. The way that it felt to be free from fear and anxiety and the sense of being in danger in your life. Descriptions of how that felt. Now, of course, the spiritual solution isn't the only solution that we have attempted over these thousands of years, and as it began to dawn on us that being human wasn't all it's cracked up to be, that in a sense it might be better not to have all of this self-consciousness, because this self-consciousness brings with it fear of death and projection into the future and all the things that make human life so broken, spoiled. So we have tried other paths, other solutions. We've tried philosophy and psychology and pharmaceuticals and money and art and music. We've tried those. We've tried education. We've tried getting rich and famous. And they all lead to the same end, the grave. Not yet, not yet. So, what I am looking for, and these retreats every year, it feels like they are like a culmination of a year of talking with you, of listening to you, of being with you, of struggling to say things more clearly, of struggling to get this point across, of hearing the wonderful reports from people who are caught totally by surprise by the effectiveness and wonder of what happens when you look at yourself, by hearing reports of people who are conflicted and confused and filled with anxiety that they're doing it wrong, and spending time with them and talking to them. That these retreats are like the summing up of what I've learned from you in this year, of what we've learned together. And this retreat, it's like I said, I've been trying for a long time now to say things more clearly, more directly, less adorned with metaphysics and spiritual aspiration. I've been trying for some time to see through. It's like, for me, it has been like I see very clearly what I want to say. I see very clearly what needs to be communicated. But trying to find the words is like trying to look around some distortion, some like heat rising from the hot pavement. Because you see, this person is no different from any other person. I have the flaws and the skills and the shortcomings that are the consequence of the entire lifetime, of all of the things that have been in this life for the entire lifetime. I didn't spring from the forehead of Zeus, filled with clarity and the sword of whatever. So this year, I think, however, that things are much clearer than they used to be for me. So for me, this retreat is not so much a culmination as a fresh start. And that's what I would like for us all to do, is to consider the possibility in these lives, in the desire to be free from dissatisfaction and discontent. I'd like us all to make a fresh start, not to deny or oppose all that we have done before, not to oppose all of our work in the spiritual realm. I mean, I tell you the truth, I would not be here had it not been for this extreme seductive nature of spiritual discourse. I would be, God knows, I'd probably be back in the joint by now. If I had not happened upon this really seductive, deep, vividly wonderful discourse about spiritual matters, which captured me, as it has captured all of us, which I fell in love with, as we all have fallen in love with, and which I had an intensely conflicted and complicated romance with for some time. But if it had not been for that, I certainly would not be here. I wouldn't be. So I'm not asking that we despise the spiritual teachings, but that we put them in their proper perspective as one of many human endeavors, some of which have been quite beautiful, some of which have been truly horrifying, that seek to find an end to the individual misery of the individual human being, stuck in what seems to be an individual life, hopeless, helpless, and without anything to do. I don't hate the spiritual teachings. I don't separate myself from them. I don't hate philosophy. I don't separate myself from that. I don't hate music. I don't separate myself from that. I don't hate movies or TV shows either. I don't separate myself from them. These are all human activities, human expressions of the wondrously human expectation that life should be wondrous and not a burden. So here's what I say in a nutshell. I say that the idea that seems to be presented to us, that there is two ways of looking at this, at the human predicament. And what I mean by the human predicament, in case anybody here is absolutely don't understand the fact that being human is difficult. I mean that what I mean by the human predicament is the predicament that arises from the presence of this really magical creature, this really magical circumstance of being alive and knowing it and aware. Which at the same time seems to be difficult and frightening and fearful. I mean, it's not surprising we're fearful, right? I mean, we are probably, I don't know about all the other creatures who probably have some self-consciousness, but I know that probably most of them do not have the exquisitely alive certainty of their own extinction, ever present, of their own extinction within a realm and a context that seems to be magnificent and magical and something we could play in. Except that, well, yeah, sure, but what about the end? The human predicament is the fact that we find ourselves in a circumstance, in a context which is magical and wondrous, and we can't enjoy it because we are always scared, always watchful, always have a murmuring, deep-seated sense that something's wrong, or that I'm not sure whether something is wrong. Something might be wrong, and I better keep my eye out. The life in which we feel compelled to hold the life itself at arm's length so that we can watch it and make sure that nothing catches us by surprise. Make sure that we monitor our every thought so that it is not sinful or wrong-headed or stupid or hateful or clinging or resistant or any of the other things that we know to be the cause of our trouble. We hold it at arm's length so we can keep an eye on it because we know it's going to get us in the end. We know that. That's the human predicament, the fear, the underlying sense of endangerment, the underlying sense of being at stake, that I have to get this right. I have to get this right because there's going to be a reckoning. And either I will pass that reckoning or I will fail that reckoning. I have to get this right. I have to have the right thoughts. I have to have the right desires. I have to know what's good for me and what's bad for me. I have to remember all that stuff. And a creature that remembers very little, really. Things pass very quickly so that it becomes burdensome. It seems to me that we need not, and we're given the choice between saying, there's something wrong with me, I don't understand well enough, or I don't have the proper relationship with these things, or I don't have the proper skills or the magical talent to make these things disappear. There's something wrong with me. Maybe I'm just sinful. Maybe I'm just a bad person. Maybe everybody else is great. It's just me that feels this discomfort, discontent. Or, and of course, if there's something wrong with me, that's the good news. And that's why we settle in religion. Because if there's something wrong with me, then there's not something wrong with the universe. There's either something wrong with me or there's something wrong with the universe. And if it's me, well, maybe I can get better, or maybe I can find salvation or redemption or something of that nature and go to heaven, or whatever promise in the afterlife is made by the religion of the moment. But if there's something wrong with the world, if it's the world that's the problem, then there's no hope. If the world truly is a false promise, then there's no hope. I'm just dead. And no matter how I flail about, no matter how I try to pretend otherwise, I'm just dead. It really is. I've just been tricked. I should never have come here. I should never have gotten into this life, because it's just going to trick me for my whole life, and then it's going to do me in. This is the choice we seem to present ourselves with. And, of course, if I think there's something wrong with the world, then I'm going to do my level best to change the world. I know I probably won't succeed, but I'm going to try. I'm going to fix you if I can. If you're a problem, I'm going to fix you if I can, or I'll fix somebody else, or I'll take my armies and go fix a whole bunch of people all at one time. I'm going to do something. Try to make the world better. I'm going to get all the money so that nobody else has any. Do something. It's amazing. It's incredible. What we do with ourselves, what we do with these lives. I don't think there's anything wrong with any of it, really. Just one thing. Just one thing. Just one thing that needs to be fixed. Just one. Not, is it this, is it that, can I be this, should I do this, just one thing needs to be fixed. You know, we set out on the beginning of these lives on a search. We're searching for an answer. We're searching for a solution. We're searching for safety. We're searching for fulfillment, for contentment. And we try all these things trying to get it. We can feel ourselves searching. We can feel ourselves trying to, in the words in the current lingo, trying to be who I am. Trying to become who I should be. We can feel the search. Either trying to be who I really am or trying to get what I really need. We can feel that urge, that need to look, is this it, is this it? It's not that hurts. What about this? Is this it? It's not that, that's boring. Got a whole infinite parade of phenomena for us to choose among, to find the things that we should be seeking, we should be getting rid of. Just one thing. There's just one problem. I swear to God, there's just one problem. Just one thing that needs fixing. And it's not your understanding, and it's not your relationship with each other, and it's not your relationship with God, and it's not your thoughts, and it's not your desires, and it's not your past, and it's not your future, and it's not this life, and it's not the fact that this creature is going to die, and it's not the fact that the earth moves. Just one problem, one small, really small problem. Small when you consider the horrible effect that it's had on humanity, which is itself a creature, and which seems right on the edge of extinction. I think that's part of what we're doing. Maybe we can wipe out humanity before humanity wipes out me. The one thing that needs to be something done about, the one thing that is worthy of your search for a solution. And you see, I don't hold with the idea that the solution is to call off the search. I can see why that is said. I can see that there is no searching going on here in the natural state. So I can see why that is said. But I've never seen anybody able to do it. You know, call off the search. We are searching for some way to call off the search. The search is justified. Life sucks. The first noble truth. Not the first noble truth like knowing that's going to make you free. The first noble truth like if you deny that, you're hopeless. The search is justified. The effort to find a solution is absolutely sane, absolutely intelligent. The foolishness comes in our inability to see the proper target of the search. And our inability even to feel confident in the things that we do try to reach for, to try to grab, that they're going to help us. That's why our efforts are so scattered. We are so scatterbrained. Because we want to cover everything. We want to have, like plan B and plan C and all of that stuff. So we can't even devote ourselves wholeheartedly to one section of the proposed solutions to the human dilemma. The search is justified. The search is intelligence. The search is human. And the proper object of the search is the fear. We believe the fear. And I don't mean that we need to stop believing the fear. I don't mean believe in that sense. We, just as the ancients assumed, because it seemed to be the case that the entire heavens were circling about overhead, that the earth was the center of the universe, just in the same unconscious, unexamined way, we assume that the presence of fear means there's something to be afraid of. And it's not even fear. It's just what we call fear. Just energy that we call fear. The fear is not because there's a problem. The fear is the problem. It is the subjective experience of dissatisfaction. That's the fear. It is the flailing about, trying to find right from wrong and so forth. It is the fear that's driving that. It's the sense of being at stake, in danger. Now this fear is not always big. It's not always like a spiritual dark night of the soul kind of fear. Most of the time, obviously, otherwise we wouldn't be able to get through the day. Most of the time it is not even noticed. It's in the background. We become accustomed to it. We don't even think about it. The earth is the center of the universe. We don't need to think about that. We don't need to think about the fear. Something's wrong. Something has to be changed. Something has to be gotten. Something has to be gotten rid of. Something has to be seen. something has to be unseen, something has to be done, something has to be stopped. All fear. All of it. And the fear, as it happens, is itself understandable and justifiable. Consider this. We human beings are born, and whether what I'm speaking of is the moment of physical birth or sometime before or sometime after, we are born into self-consciousness. We come into the universe, we come into this amazing ocean of movement and sensation and color and noise and heat and cold, and we come into that absolutely empty and naked of any idea whatsoever, period. We're just there. We know we are. We don't even know what knowing I am is, but I know. And I know that there is this madness afflicting me, this madness. I don't know what's going on. I'm pushed here and pushed there. I have sensations and experiences and phenomena coming and going. I don't even know, I don't even have a word. I don't even have a past. I don't even have a place to stand. I am this drop of individual consciousness, shaken. So it's no wonder that we're scared. It's no wonder that we are fearful. It's no wonder that we are looking for what's wrong. We have been looking for what's wrong since the moment it dawned on us that we existed. Looking for what's wrong so we can stay clear of it or kill it off or, I don't know, do something with it. And that's the problem. That's it. There is no other problem. The fear goes quickly, more quickly than you can imagine. All the things that seem to be the problem just aren't. All the thoughts, all the relationships, all the stupidity, all the past, all the expectations, just not. Just a parade of phenomena. A wondrous, magical mystery show. No distance between you and your life. No separation between you and your life. No sense of being a stranger in your life, trapped in your life, trapped in your mind. When the fear is gone. And then you see what all these people were talking about when they were telling us what it feels like to be truly human, to be natural. They didn't know what they were telling us that. They thought they were telling us what the understanding of the day said about what they had seen. And there weren't many of them, by the way. You know, I mean, you think about it, there are not many who have found this natural state in a spiritual arena or any arena. But they knew, but they couldn't say. So here's what I have come to see in this wonderful life that I used to be so not in love with. If that's true, if what I say is true, and I think it probably rings true with everybody, this business about the arising of fear, somebody put it like, when I was talking about it, said it was like a conjoined twin with self-consciousness. This coming of fear, this inevitable arising of fearfulness and anxiety, with the unexpected and fully developed sense of self-consciousness. I think it rings true, and I think people relate to it. But the proof of the pudding is, if that is true, then the fear is false. It has a false premise. If that's true, what I'm saying is true. And if that's true, and the false premise is that I am in danger here. That I, this essential I-ness of me, John-ness of me, the background of me. If the fear is true, then that means that this, I'm not talking about the thoughts and the body and the sensations and all of that, but this me. You know me. You know what me is, right? You would call it me too, or I. This me is vulnerable and subject to be harmed. This me is vulnerable and subject to be wiped out and extinguished and damaged irretrievably as a result of the forces which seem to be affecting me and bombarding me every moment of the day. But if it is not true, then the fear is false. And if I can see directly the case and it's not true, then the fear will depart. If what I'm saying is true, and I say that you are subject to no harm whatsoever, no help either, no harm, no help, you are unable to be harmed or enhanced by anything whatsoever that comes and goes within you. That's what I say. And if that's true, then the mere act of bringing the energy of the search, the justifiable search for a solution, for an end to the misery, then the mere act of bringing that searching energy, that desperate, sometimes almost infantile neediness, to the effort to look at you, at the reality of you, the actuality of you. And if you do that, it should be the case that sooner or later, I've never heard of anybody being like that, but I have heard of some who have taken not very long, and of some who have taken years. If you bring that energy of search directly into contact with your actual nature, the fear will depart. The fear will go. Because you're bringing the product of the fear, the tool of the fear, into contact with that which that tool is supposed to be protecting and enhancing, that which is invulnerable to protection or enhancement, to damage or help. Now, it doesn't take a spiritual genius to try this. Thank God. It just takes someone who's willing to start fresh, to disregard, not deny or dispute, but just to disregard for a moment everything you've known, everything you've learned, everything you have known to be the deep, actual truth of things, just for a second, while you get a taste of what it feels like to be you. Not what you have learned it should feel like to be you, even if you've learned that from me, but freshly, for yourself, in your own self, taste your actual nature. whether it be an actual nature that is vulnerable and afflicted and deeply flawed, or an actual nature that is as I say it is, an actual nature that is vulnerable and not subject to any effect whatsoever of anything that comes and goes within it. A couple of things that seem to make this very difficult. And I mean, I say now, from a different standpoint, I can't understand why this should be so difficult. But, whenever I get to thinking and talking about my own experience with my introduction to this, I have to say that I certainly am the poster child for making it really difficult, really stupid, really romantic, and really stupid. See, our understanding sometimes stupefies us. We can't see around it. People ask me all the time, and the magnificent thing about the simplicity of this, and the magnificent thing about its effect, is that over the years, as I have talked to people, and little by little kind of gotten a little better at getting to the point. I mean, I know it sounds like I don't get to the point still, but I really am at the point. And I got a little better at getting to the point and ignoring a lot of the superfluous stuff. People have found that this actually works. I mean, check it out. That's an astonishing thing to say. This actually works. Not for like a small percentage of the people that I speak to. A small percentage of the people I speak to take a very long time and are kicking and screaming the whole way. The largest percentage of the people I speak to will go through a short period, maybe of confusion and disagreement and dispute and so forth, and then start making these incredible reports. Not reports of enlightenment or empty mind or a vanishing of ego, but reports of the discovery of how absolutely magnificent it is to be human in a human life. How unexpected it is that all of the things that used to seem so fraught and so filled with either promise or danger are just wondrous to see. They affect nothing. They come and go. And they are beautiful. And I would not dispose of a single one of them. Not a single one of them is worthy of being brushed aside. So this works. The reports are phenomenal. It works. And people have told me, and I've tried to enlist the help of people, and I will continue to try to enlist the help of people as we go along. People have told me things that I have said that have been helpful to them because this seems so hard. I mean, what I'm asking you to do is to get to grok. Does everybody know what grok means? It's like a gestalt experience. Get just a momentary, recognizable feel that is undeniably you. Just for a moment, not for a long duration, not. It's not like duration is irrelevant. Duration is irrelevant. And people have told me, oh man, this is so hard, I don't know what you would want me to look at. I don't know. I want you to look at you. I mean, you. That's all, just you. Not self, not God, not consciousness, not awareness, not the witness, not love, not anything but you. Just you. And one of the things I've said that they have reported is very helpful is, and I kind of thought it might be when I said it, because I took it from my own experience, is there must be times that you can remember when you were a child. I mean, a little child, 5 years old, 6 years old. There must be a time that you can recall that it was that, and it doesn't have to be dramatic, but all of us have these moments of memory that are real. They feel like real. And they don't have to be dramatic or special or anything, but just remembering like what it felt like when at a moment when you bought a candy across the counter. There was something that, anything, when you were a child, that you can actually recall what it felt like. For me, it was, I talk about it, I was very young, and I had gone in to see a movie, Jimmy Stewart movie called Winchester 73, which was a movie that I had lusted after seeing for some time. I was hot for Westerns and hot for Jimmy Stewart Westerns and hot for Winchester 73s. I went to see the movie in the daytime. Yeah, I'm a kid, right? They took me there, and I went in by myself. And after the movie was over, I came out into this bright, sunshiny day, which was such a shock. Everybody's had that experience. It was such a shock that it stuck with me. And I was able to evoke that. And I was able to see clearly what it felt like to be me in that moment of coming out of that movie theater into the bright, sunshiny afternoon. What it felt like to be me. I couldn't tell what it felt like to have the sun on my face or any of that because memory doesn't contain those things. But I could felt like to be me. And I could see instantly that feeling of me was exactly the same as the feeling of me now. Exactly the same. Not exactly the same. It is the same moment in time, almost. That's what I want you to look at. What it feels like to be you. Now, what happens if you do it? First of all, you don't have to worry yourself about all of the conflicting reasons that you might embark upon this. You don't have to bother yourself about all the conflicting opinions you might have about this. You don't have to bother yourself about the fact that you have expectations or that you don't have expectations. You don't have to bother yourself about any of that stuff. All you have to do is do it. Really, do it. You can do it for the best of reasons. You can do it for the worst of reasons. If you just do it. You can do it in a swamp of selfishness and infantile misery and self-centeredness, or you can do it in a state of doing it for the welfare of all of humanity. Or you can do it just because it occurs to you to do it. It's the doing it that counts. Just the doing it. And what happens if you do it? If you try, you can't fail. You may fail for a long time. I failed for a long time. But in the end, you can't fail. I suspect that it wasn't that I failed for a long time. It was because I just didn't know what I was doing. I came to this through Ramana Maharshi. And I was frankly completely bamboozled by Ramana Maharshi. I could not for the life of me figure out what in the world he wanted us to do. It just, everybody else, it was pretty clear. You do this, you do that, you enter onto this path, you enter onto that path, you do these meditations, you do this japa, you do this mantra, and these 108,000 prostrations and so forth. So it's pretty clear what they want us to do. Sit, stare at a wall, you know. But I couldn't figure out what Ramana wanted me to do. I had a really hard time. And the reason I had such a really hard time was because I really, really understood spiritual reality. I had such a wondrously nuanced and deep and articulate understanding of the spiritual teachings that even though I could say to myself, okay, I'm going to put that aside, I was putting that aside because of a spiritual teaching. I understood what I was doing in putting that aside. But if you try, you'll do it. If you try, you'll get it done. And you may not even know it when it first occurs. This event that I speak of is of vanishingly small duration. Really small. It's not like a state that you enter. It's not like that at all. It's just like a stone skipping across a stream. That's all it takes. And if you do it once, you'll continue to do it. That's the other thing. You will continue to do it until you notice that actually there's never a moment when you're not aware, when you're not completely and fully conscious of the reality of what you are. And then the doing of it fades away too. Ramana called it a stick that stirs the fire and then is burned up in the fire. It's a little too dramatic and spiritual for my taste. The doing of it will depart too. So what I'd like us to do is have a fresh start. A fresh start on this whole issue of human misery and suffering, of the fact that it's so difficult to be a human. I'd like for us to do this individually. Individually, one by one, for yourself. No one can help you. Being together in a situation like this is encouraging, and it's extremely useful. But the good feelings and the sweetness of being together in a common purpose that may actually have a chance of working, that isn't what you're looking for. You don't need to discard it. You don't need to throw it away, but that's not the outcome that we seek. That's part of the parade of phenomena, a really sweet float coming by in the parade of phenomena. This you must do for yourself. And you must do it. I say you must do it as if I was telling you what you have to do. You must do it for yourself. Without regard to what you think I think, or what you think anybody else thinks, you have to do it for yourself. And the good news is that it's really easy. It's easy beyond comprehension. And the bad news is that it seems really hard. Sometimes. But if you do it, you won't fail. And the end is for sure. The end is certain. The end is the realization within yourself, and I don't mean by that the arrival of something. I mean the simple English word realize, the realization within yourself that there's nothing wrong. And that everything is interesting. And that there's nothing wrong. And that there's nothing that needs to be done. And there's nothing that needs to be stopped doing. And that there is literally no boundary between you and this life. There is no distinction between you and this life. There's nothing to be watchful for. I've had people who have literally been writing to me about how this doesn't work. And as they are describing for me how it doesn't work, it dawns on them that what they were describing is the proof that it does work. So the outcome is not what we have come to expect in our search for a solution. The outcome, rather, is what they all have told us to be the case in their efforts, however flawed, to help us. This life is what you seek. This life, just as it is what you seek. That the journey from samsara to nirvana is a journey nowhere. It ends where it begins. Another really cool, paradoxical spiritual utterances that have come by for a long time. So a fresh start. Don't throw away your spiritual books. Just put things in context. We have been at this for a long, long time. Put it in context. Put this whole business in the context of the sweep of human history and of human effort to free itself from misery and fear and heartache and discontent. You are the answer. You are the answer. There is no answer to be found anywhere else. You are the answer. So for the time we're together, if it's possible to do so, now I know that sometimes it isn't, and I know that I am really soft and easygoing when it comes to not being as tough as I should be. But if you can find it in your heart to do so, let's try not to talk about any spiritual teaching at all. Let's try not to put this, that we are meeting here for this time, into any context other than the context of humanity. Not in the context of religion, or spirituality, or philosophy, or pharmaceuticals, or psychiatry, or any of it. Just you and me, here, now. Trying to look at us, at me, here, now. Okay? Okay, well, I wouldn't expect that anybody would want to talk, but I'd be happy to talk to anybody that wants to. We have a few minutes. Usually I just come and preach on this first night, but it's okay. I'd rather talk to you guys. Anybody want to talk? Anybody completely in the dark about what I've been talking about? let's just sit together for a few minutes, and if it occurs to you to have something to say, just speak up and come up and we'll talk. And if not, we'll just go to bed.
I hope this isn't putting us in a religious context.
It's okay. It's okay. Like I said, you got to use the microphone too.
Okay.
The reason for all this is not to make it uncomfortable for you, but just so that other people might be able to.
I was thinking about something as I was listening to you talk, and I just imagined this thing that what if I popped onto this earth and there were no other people on it? I just popped onto the earth. And next thing I know, I'm catching an animal and eating it. So I'm going to ask a question, but I'm not going to ask it because I want you to answer it. It's just the question in my mind was, what makes me do that? So as I was sitting there, I thought, what makes me do that? I could imagine the answer would be hunger. So let's, I popped onto the earth, I've caught an animal, I'm eating it. I didn't have a thought, I want to eat an animal, like I want to go out for dinner, seafood and wine. I just want to, I'm catching an animal, I'm eating it. So something has caused me to catch an animal and eat it. And we would say that, I could easily say that hunger does that. A physical body, hunger made me eat. What causes me to want to know who I am? So, I could easily say hunger is an instinct that I'm come onto this earth and hunger exists and causes me to want to eat. So, in that sense, I could say I've heard you say, or maybe I could just say I've heard said, I don't know if I heard you say this, but that are you perhaps proposing that in the context where you're talking about, I've popped onto this earth, and something about me popping onto this earth makes me have this situation in which I say, who am I? What am I? Or, look at who you are. So, is there like something that we come to this place with that compels us to catch an animal and eat it, or pick a carrot, I don't know what, but the thing, is there this thing that is there? I don't know that I can say that perhaps you're saying that there's fear that compels us to do this thing. You didn't really say that, but I don't know, for some reason that thing of seeing, no other, it was a part where you were saying that we have all these concepts, and I thought, well, what if I just popped onto this earth? It's not necessarily a concept that makes me want to capture an animal and eat it. It's what, I've been taught to call it an instinct, but let's not even call it that. Let's just say I'm doing that thing. What is this thing I'm doing? And what is compelling me to do this thing?
Well, I can tell you a couple of things, right? It seems to me that you're conflating things, for one thing.
I'm what?
Conflating different
Conflating.
realms, putting it together, right? Like an animal pops into existence on the earth, and actually literally millions of years of evolution have produced an organism that is suited and has the instincts and the capacity to feed itself, to hide from danger, and to procreate and so forth.
That would be me.
Yeah, that would be this organism in any event, right? That's the blind hand of evolutionary movement in organisms, in animals and things, plants,
So that story
birds
goes.
and beings.
Yeah.
But something different has happened in you. You know, you didn't just pop on this earth with the evolutionary apparatus that makes it possible for you to capture an animal and eat it, or protect yourself from, find shelter and so forth. You first popped into this life unprepared for anything. And in fact, human beings are unique on this planet in how long it takes them to become actual organisms outside of the body of their mother, and how long it takes them after that to become even capable of following the intelligence of evolution to be able to fend for themselves. Human beings are very helpless for a very long time, and if your mother had simply dropped you on the tundra somewhere, you wouldn't have survived for very long. You had to be taken care of. But when you did appear in this world, into this life, you appeared knowing that you were here. Now you had no concepts, none, nothing whatsoever that could inform you as to what this knowing that you are here is. That it's knowing that you are here. You just have a special kind of consciousness that is perhaps unique to human beings in its development, not in its essence, but in its development. A special kind of consciousness, the certainty of yourself as a being with boundaries, which is being touched and affected by God knows what. It's that moment that I speak of as the moment when the fear dawns. Now, the fact is that as life goes on, and we all go through these human lives in varying degrees of success at holding that sense of something wrong at bay. But the fact is that as life goes on, it never occurs to us to look at ourselves. It never occurs to us to find out who we are. Not in the sense of getting the actual taste of our reality, which has to be here. That never occurs to us. We try to look for who we are or what we are outwardly, in the thoughts, the personality characteristics, the traits, the relationships, the opinions about the relationships, and so forth. That's how we try to find out who we are, by shaping the personality, because it's desperately important to us to get this right, and we have no idea what we're doing. What leads us finally, if we are finally led to the possibility of actually investigating for oneself what our actual nature is, prior to the whole parade of phenomena, prior to all of that, if we actually are led to the possibility of making that movement, which is unique and doesn't seem to be natural in the sense of like finding shelter and food and warmth is natural. And what leads us to this is that precisely, if we're lucky, is precisely that which has led us to all the other promises and hopes that we have sought after in the past. It's the sense that there's something wrong. There's something not here that should be here, or something here that should not be here. So if we are lucky enough to end up at the point where we are willing actually to investigate our actual nature prior to anything, what's led us to that is precisely that same fear, that same searching energy, that same urge to find a solution, to find happiness, to find contentment, to find satisfaction, to find safety. The organism itself is a product of the evolutionary unfolding of things. So too is perhaps the nature of this consciousness, a product of that evolutionary unfolding of the universe, the appearance of vivid self-consciousness in a creature. Which is, by the way, when I speak of vivid self-consciousness, I'm speaking precisely of the sense of being separate, which is held to be the problem in most spiritual teachings. But in fact, in my experience now, this sense of being separate is obviously false. It's obviously false. So is the sense of my fragility, obviously false. But it's a feature, not a bug. It is a feature that makes it possible to taste and look and smell and touch.
Can I ask you something?
Please.
Did you discover in your doing of this that there's sort of a point where it's not the fear anymore? Okay, so
the fear just goes. It's not as a result of discovery. It's not as a result of coming to understand something or see something clearly. It's purely, it's almost mechanical. It's like medicine.
It seems that if I follow along with what you're saying, and the fear has been a thing for me, whether I knew it or not, and the fear caused me distress to search, that perhaps now I'm at a place where the fear now is sort of relative like everything else is. And so there's something left. There's something left that it's not even a want, it just does. It does look at who I really am.
Well,
it does look at, what do you say to do? Look at who I am? Look at who I really am?
Look at you.
Look at me.
No, I don't ever say look at who you really are.
There's something that looks at me.
That's you.
Right.
It could only be you. There's nobody here but you.
So it's the fear's gone when I'm not being motivated, that's not quite the word. When I'm not being motivated, compelled, searching, distressed, and the fear is not like it's not vanished, it's there, like he's there, or a light's there, it's part of life. There's still left then this thing of, it's still there. It's me. It's me looking at me, only there's not two of them.
That's right.
So it doesn't, in a sense, I could, if I wanted to, well, I wouldn't even do that. But if I did do that, if I made it pathological, it almost feels like a dissociation from the fear. But it's not, because the fear, I'm not dissociated from it's there.
What if the fear is not fear?
Well, that's it. That's
what if the mistake is actually just our misunderstanding of something that is, well, kind of the force of life?
That's exactly what I mean, and I think that's why it started out with, if I popped onto this earth and I ate an animal, and I didn't even know why I was eating or that I was eating it or anything, I'm just eating it. It's like that makes the fear not fear. It's just life.
That's right. And it's this that causes us to, our main experience, although for most of us we would not call it this, but it's my sense and my experience, our main experience is a fear of life. we think that life is dangerous. And the fear of life itself, and I hesitate to say this because this sounds so New Age, but the fear of life itself is the life force itself. It's not fear at all. Now this is, I almost never speak of this because I never want to suggest things to anybody about what things are, because it doesn't make a damn bit of difference what it is. It really doesn't. But it is my continuing experience that what actually happens is that we misunderstand this energy that is life itself to be evidence that I am in danger, which is why I call it fear. This energy that drives everything, that drives life itself, we misunderstand to be evidence that there's something wrong. And that's because it appears concurrent with self-consciousness and the awareness of the surrounding, what seems to be the surrounding ocean of sensation and phenomena. And that's the one thing that, so we keep it at bay. We hold it at arm's length. We dissociate from it. We try to kill it off. I mean, finally we get to try to kill ego off. You know, and that's all pathological activity centered around a phenomenon that is not only harmless, but is a wondrous arising in reality.
Yeah, I think that was, that was like I notice there's fear or something, like there's hunger or something. I don't know what any of, whatever we're going to call it is, the thing. We're calling it the many things. We call it, like I've learned to call it hunger or fear or whatever it is. But along with that, there's the looking at myself seems to be alive as much as anything else does. It's not a reaction to anything, not anything. It's just like I'm born with that, like I'm born with anything. It's just there.
That's true. That's the natural state. That's the truth. And that's what I said when I was speaking. And I said that it will come to pass that even the effort to look at yourself will pass away. Because it is actually the case that there is never a moment when you're not fully conscious of this actuality of you.
It feels like, how can I not look at myself? You know, it's like, well, what?
Did it always feel that way?
I just didn't know it.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's precisely right.
Yes. Yes. Okay, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. What's your name?
Roberta.
Roberta, it's my pleasure.
Nice to meet you.
And of course, that was brilliant. Really, that's brilliant. And I have to say, for those who are floundering in misery and heartache, it's useless. And it's not. I mean, our discussion, so far as I can see, is a wonderful communication between you and I that I cherish and treasure. But for the onlooker, it's a description of the way things are, which the onlooker, who is still trapped in the sense of the need to do something to make this horror show go away, means that that's what I've got to get. I've got to get to the point where I'm like that. That's what I want. I want to be like that. That's freedom from fear. That's it. Now, how can I get to be like that? And this is really tricky, but it's important to see that when one is trapped in the feeling of being trapped, no understanding, no matter how sweet and no matter how true it rings, is of any help to you. None. The only understanding that's of any help to you is the understanding that no understanding is of any help to you. That you've got to get for yourself. You've got to do this for yourself. And I say that just because it's kind of like a, what do they call it? Disclaimer. The fine print for our conversation there. Anybody else? Yeah.
Hello, John.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
You look like you're doing well.
Yes, thank you. I think I met you last July,
Uh-huh.
the half-day thing, and from that time onwards till now. But I don't have any question right now, but would like to tell what I had experienced so far at looking at myself. One of the things that I had started whenever it occurs to me, not very frequently, very, very rarely, when I do that, I feel that a little bit of my fear, I was full of fear, whether without knowing myself that I had so much few months back. And right now, when I compare myself, I just feel that I have lost a lot of that. Still, there is something
That's
going
right.
on,
Yeah.
but feel that I had become a little bit more bold. And and
Board's a step in the right direction.
yes. And one of the things that's happening because of this, I see stupidity of many people or many whatever other spiritual things that I see around, and I started questioning, and I get into trouble for that because I see it's really something stupid. That's part of that. I feel slowly my attention has released a little bit, and today I was, since I'm coming here, I was looking at myself a little bit consciously, or remembering to look at myself. That's what I would like to put it. And even, when I was walking near the beach today morning, just walking and just looking at myself, what is that to look at? I'm just here, and there's nothing, and I'm just here, and just the feeling of I'm just here. At that time, it just probably at that instant, there is no fear or whatever it is for a split second. That's what I feel. And then, it kind of goes on. And even today, something happened, like after I came early from Phoenix, and I just went to the Malibu beach and just relaxed there for a little bit, had my lunch there, and then came back here, and then I was about to enter into that inn where I had registered and to sleep for tonight. And then I took out my wallet and I saw that I lost my credit card. And I'm like, oh.
Lost my credit card.
And I'm like, I would have gone crazy. And I'm like, okay, fine. So then I traced back, where did I miss it last time? Then I remembered it was the restaurant. Then I checked my email, my internet, and see, okay, that's where it is. So I called up those guys, and they said that, yeah, we have your credit card. And they said they'll open at morning 7 o'clock, and the place, it's like 1.5 hours from here. And I'm like, yeah, well, I can't go now back there, not tomorrow morning. So then I said, okay, just keep it with yourself. Then I called up my bank, and I told them, please cancel the credit card. I just forgot. Maybe I may get it or not. And that was there for a few minutes, probably. Then after that, I just took a shower, ate something.
Yeah,
and
that's just and that particular complex of experiences, I know from my own experience, such things would have in the past caused a huge trauma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would have caused like a havoc or headache or whatever it is. I had my debit card, so I just used my debit card to whatever it is, and I'm like, fine, it's gone. Time for a new credit card, probably. So for the past few months, became more bold would be the right word to say.
Yeah.
that has been happening to me.
Just want to say one thing about all that. Oh, that's beautiful. And this is what I know to be the case with you, right? I see that. I'll tell you something that you'll notice, and there's no way you can make this happen. It's like, you know how it is, well, like the thing with the credit card, the big drama with the credit card, the fact that it was no drama at all, it wasn't, that itself wasn't a big deal either. It wasn't like, oh my God, look at this, I'm not having, terrible experiences about the credit cards. That also is no big deal. It's just an event that came and went and so forth. And similarly, this will be the case. It will become apparent to you that all of those people who are stupid and hurting each other and hurting others, and that they're you. We're in this together. It's all us. And that, the dawning of that, will be as unremarkable and as undramatic as the discovery that the loss of your credit card was just the loss of your credit card. But it will happen. And it just takes you by surprise, because when we hear about compassion and the oneness of things and so forth, we make a big deal out of it as though it was a big dramatic thing. But it's not. It's just the case. And when the traits and behaviors and so forth that have prevented us from being aware of that, like we have been prevented from being aware of what it feels like my actual nature, when those traits and behaviors and so forth begin to just kind of vanish, then the case is apparent. It is the case that you are never unaware of you. That's just the case. It is the case that you have always known that it is us, that there is no them, that it's us, that humanity itself is a creature that has arisen, and that it is us. It's not them. It's not, and this is no kind of moralistic or, philosophical thing at all, like, oh, it's bad to call people bad or anything like that. It's just the case, man, that we are all crazy. We have been driven crazy. This whole human creature has been driven crazy for over something very stupid and small about which we know nothing. Before the fear begins to, or the calling of life as fear begins to fade away, it all seems so big and it's just not. We are one creature. The most horrendous acts that are performed by human beings are performed by us. It is our traits. It is our relationship with life. It is our fearfulness. It is our anxiety. It is our determination to make ourselves safe or right at all cost. It's the same.
This is the one hurdle that I'm facing right now, that when I see something or someone doing something stupid, when I'm getting into trouble, it's kind of a little bit of bothering my normal day-to-day life going on, and I guess I have to.
That's to be expected. It really is. But it means nothing. I mean, it doesn't hurt you. The fact that there persists a behavioral trait that is like an algorithm that has appeared, that appears in a certain context and expresses some relationship or opinion with other people's behavior, it doesn't mean a thing. It's just a thought. It comes, it goes. You stay. You remain. And in the end, it all comes out right.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. It's good to see you. Okay, one more. And then we'll go. Hi. Julia. Hey, hello.
Hi.
It's nice to see you with something other than a green dot.
Yeah. I'm a bit shy to come here. I feel some fear somehow, but nevertheless, I feel that fear since I was born. I remember that I didn't want to come.
Yeah.
So since a child, I have a very deep fear of life. It wasn't always there, but more I'm doing this work, more I'm aware of it. And on the top of that fear of life, that I find myself right now in kind of a dead end. I don't like where I live. I don't like what I do for a living. And I feel inside like dead. I have no motivation for anything. I find no motivation for life. I find life disappointing. I find it's stupid what I'm doing. Wasting ourselves to make money, working to have money, the entire system that humanity put in place, and we put ourselves limitation in everything we are doing through laws and legislations, and you want to do certain things and you're not free because that's a law that's against it, or that's a law that prevents you, or that's a law that makes it difficult for you. I really find it very hard. And I don't know where I'm going with this, but I am doing the inquiry, and sometimes I stay with the fear, and I began to notice that suddenly feels like I don't know why I'm talking. Kind of I allow the fear to be here because it's coming. I cannot deny it. I just let it be here. And then I realized that I'm identifying with the fear. I believe that a set of sensation is me. And it goes, and I try to stay with the sense of me, to stay to who am I. But nevertheless, that fear of life, fear of taking action, fear of making decisions, fear of going and meeting people, and I don't know, fear of driving, fear of just wanting to die sometimes very, very badly.
But despite all of that, you're here.
Yes, I am.
I mean, I'm not speaking, I'm speaking physically, right? You managed to come all the way from
Yeah, I did.
to here and sitting in this chair with me. Now here's the thing. Nothing of what you just recounted to me is an actual problem. The feeling of being kind of dead, the feeling of not knowing what you're doing, the feeling of being in the wrong life and the wrong job and the wrong situation and so forth, the feeling of being afflicted by the fear, none of that is the problem. None of it. It really doesn't hurt you. You can see that if you look. When you're looking for what's going on and what the problem is, you are looking at thoughts and memories and and current sensations and so forth, right?
Yes, that's true.
You are checking those in that area to be able to describe to me what actually is happening. But the truth is, none of that's happening. Really. You're here. Whether you allow the fear or don't allow the fear is beside the point. Whether you resist the fear or accept it is beside the point. This is not what I teach. It's not what I speak about. We've tried for a very long time to learn how to accept things and not resist and so forth, and it hasn't had much good success. So none of that stuff is the problem. There is really, I hate to say this, but there really is no particular problem. You're not harmed. The body might be harmed. You're not harmed. You can see that if you look. And the point of looking is not to persuade you. And this is the kind of subtle thing that is very difficult to speak of. The point of looking is not to persuade you that everything is okay. All right? It's not to cause the old understandings and the old opinions to vanish and a new set of understandings and opinions to appear in their place. That's not the point of it. The point of it is just to bring this effort that you've been making for all your life to get free, to get what you need, to get what you want, and so forth, is to bring this effort directly in touch with your actual nature. I could talk for a long time about why that helps and why that works, but all that's beside the point too. If you do it, you'll see. You will see, and you are doing it. I know you are. It's not uncommon for there to be really hard times during this, what seem like really hard times. But if you continue, it won't be because you are now like permanently conscious of the reality of your nature. It won't be because some new understanding of you appears in your mind. It won't be because you lose all the other stuff. The other stuff is just thought. It's algorithms. It's routines that have appeared in a certain context at a certain time in your life to defend you or protect you or help you as best they could. Those things will pass. You can't make them go, and you can't make them stay. Those things will pass. It's my experience that, and again, I know from my own experience that this practice, this work, can lead to a period of what seems to be great difficulty and great confusion. But it passes. If you just look at you, it's not just that, just look at you. You're here. That's all you have to do. It's not going to cause you to understand anything. It's not going to cause your mind to change. I'm not trying to change your mind. Mind changes. And what occurs is that in an environment of fearfulness and anxiety, the negative traits and the negative algorithms, the negative habits of behavior and relationships and so forth, they thrive. In a context of fearlessness and a lack of that, those negative traits and behaviors and so forth, they just don't show up anymore. It's not that you see through them. You know, and we struggle so hard to see that these things don't make sense. But it's not that you see through them. It's just they don't show up anymore. And the more positive traits and behavior patterns and so forth, like honesty and simplicity and things of that nature, they thrive in an atmosphere of fearlessness. It's not that that you have found a way to become that, though you're not that anyway. Those are all mechanical traits that come into being in the realm of cause and effect, which is your life. But they'll be there, and the others will be gone, and you'll remain. So, I would love to be able to offer you comfort and some kind of amelioration of pain and confusion and so forth, but I can't do that. I don't know how to do that. And it's not my role. My role is to do what I do with you, which is to encourage you to use all of the effort that you make now to try to make that badness go away. Get all that effort into one purpose. That purpose is to bring your consciousness in direct contact with the reality of your nature. Just for a moment, just like that, just that. Then again, then again.
I do it.
I know.
I do it, and sometimes I think, well, it works. Sometimes I think, I don't know if I'm doing right, you know. It doesn't seem that I'm looking in the right direction, because I heard you speak, and sometimes you say, well, how long it takes to look at yourself only once, right? So the reason that I still don't know if I'm doing it right, if I'm looking in the right
Right,
place.
it's because the bad stuff is still here.
Yeah,
This is
exactly.
not. This is
exactly.
not. This is not done to rid you of what you have felt to be the bad stuff about your characteristics.
Okay.
And that's the mistake we've made in the past. We go for the things that will give us some momentary surcease from all of that. This doesn't do that.
Okay.
It's just not. It just isn't operating that realm.
Okay.
And when I said you only have to do it once, whenever I say that, usually what I'm doing is I'm making fun of Papaji.
Okay, yeah.
All right? Because, Papaji said, when asked once about self-inquiry, and, I don't mean to be disrespectful to anybody, because I really loved Papaji. I mean, I have a feeling, a kind of a connection with Papaji and his craziness. But somebody asked Papaji once, what I was going to say is, people don't know what happened to them. Ramana didn't know what happened to him. He didn't. He went to read to find out, just like everybody else. Somebody asked Papaji once, Papaji, how often do you have to do self-inquiry? And Papaji said, well, you only have to do it once if you do it right. That's probably what you heard me quoting Papaji.
That's what you quote, yeah.
And I used to be really incensed and disgusted that Papaji would say something so wrong. But then I saw, as time went on, I saw that it wasn't that he was wrong. It's just that he was, taciturn. He just didn't say everything. It is true that you only have to do it once if you do it right. But the reason that that's true is because once you do it once, you'll keep doing it. That's the reason it's true. Once you do it once, you'll keep doing it. You'll keep doing it in the face of difficulty. You'll keep doing it in the face of the sense of this ain't working anyway, and why am I doing it? It'll occur to you to do it when you're driving in the car. It'll occur to you to do it when you're standing at the checkout station. It'll occur to you to do it when you're bemoaning the state of your life. Right? And that's, so far as I can tell, the reason for that is because it is natural for you to look at yourself. And it's unnatural for you to as we do, insanely refuse to look at ourselves and instead look at all this stuff. So you did it right. The proof you did it right is because you keep doing it.
Yes, but you see, 10 years ago, I had a very powerful experience.
Me too. Actually, 15 years ago.
I know we have a very similar background because I went through the same thing that you did.
Yeah, well then,
And after a very blissful state, I just hit the ground.
yeah.
But what happened to me is that I looked at myself and the memory of being a 5-year-old girl, which at 5 years old I was questioning what am I and who am I, how come I'm here. And then I looked from that memory to here, to now, and I noticed that memory changes, perception of me, a little girl, and the person that I'm here changes, but that it's the same. And then I remain in that I am in a state for a very long time. And I have rested in very deep peace when I was going in instant states of samadhi or whatever it is. And I have lived in a space like resting on the bottom of the ocean. And I am that. And just went away.
You know who
So,
has, you know who
how
had,
come I'm so lost right now?
you know who had
When I looked once.
You know, well, because you didn't know what you were doing. There has to be an element of intention in this. You know what your experience is similar to? Ramana's experience. Ramana did not know what he was doing. He laid down, he pretended to be dead, because his father had died young. He was not spiritual, he was not tremendously religious. He just, as a 16-year-old boy, he laid down and pretended to be dead. He closed his eyes, he stopped his breath, he made his body rigid to mimic rigor mortis. He imagined his body being taken to the burning ghat, and so forth, and noticed that, in the face of all of that, he was the same. What he called the force of personality is the same. And Ramana took himself then to Tiruvannamalai, to the temple, and spent 12 years in silence trying to see what had happened to him. And he was just a little luckier than you, or in a different context, at a different time. But he accidentally had the same thing happen to him as happened to you. It was accidental. With you, it was accidental.
Yes. I didn't look for it. I was surprised when it
Yeah.
happened.
So now comes the states, and naturally, I mean, a creature who has been searching for release and searching for salvation, really, that suddenly has this state of immensity and peace and clarity and so forth appear within them without knowing how it happened, without knowing what had happened. It's natural that that creature would think that that state was what it had always wanted. It's natural. I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe that there, and I've spoken about this a lot, that in this work there's an element of intention that is critical. And I can't explain it. It may be because, because having the conscious intention to actually taste your reality is different than stumbling upon it while pretending you're dead. There's a clarity of effect that is present. But I don't know. I know that with Ramana, the same thing happened to him that happened to you. He went off into the temples and ate the stuff that they washed off the statues and stayed silent and came out of it okay.
It did happen spontaneous, but also it happened like I was a drowning man searching for air.
Yeah.
So there was an intent.
Yeah.
However, when I was there, I didn't know how to go further.
That's right. Well, and You don't need to go further.
And I got lost after that.
Right.
So for 10 years I entered depression because I looked at my body and difference between a piece of furniture and my body was no difference.
Yeah, but that's that.
Yeah.
You're here now.
Yes.
And I tell you that you keep doing what you're doing,
Okay.
and it's all going to come out right.
All right.
You don't need to refer to that past experience.
Okay.
You don't need to compare with that past experience. You don't need to rid yourself of that past experience. All you have to do is continue doing what you're doing. Okay? I'm really glad you made it here, despite all the
I'm very happy.
forces that stood in your way.
Well, I'm really happy.
Okay?
Thank you so much, John. Thank you.
Yeah, we're going to go. I'm sorry. We're just going to go. I really love you all. And I have this, I'm just addicted to being with you, I guess. Thank you all. I'll see you tomorrow. You're right here. Same time, same. No, not the same time. Good night. Be well. Please, please. Tonight, see if you cannot. If you have done this 1,000,000 times before, if you have never done it before, see if you cannot make a fresh start and get directly for yourself the taste of what it is to be you. Please. Okay?